again, we have had regime change. Now, regime change was not one of the things I had as a goal. I had one goal. They will have no nuclear weapon. And that goal has been attained.
If 3 months from the start of this conflict, we're pretty much out, and the goals, the missions that this administration stated are mostly accomplished, and we're not in a forever war, do you leave room to acknowledge that, okay, maybe not Iraq, maybe not World War III? Let me ask you this. If Iran ended today, the conflict with Iran, or the next couple of days, what would be your verdict? I'm going to go through the pros and cons with kind of where we stand right now, but I've tried to be as consistent as humanly possible with this. I said, hey, you know what? I think that President Trump has earned our trust on this at this point. Everyone was saying World War III or Iraq. Said, hey, we may find out over time that that is a comparison, a legitimate comparison, or we may find out that it's not. We brought two examples like Panama, Grenada, to be clear, where we said there are plenty of examples of conflicts that don't go on that long. So I said, you know what? Let's give it 3 months. Give it 3 months, and then we can actually evaluate where we stand. 3 months, and we are still in the countdown.
So Steve's trying to help Trump right now. And it's true. There are people right now who want to impeach Donald Trump for starting this war and destroying Iran's nuclear program. And these are the same people who said nothing when the Obama administration paid Iran billions in cash. And these are the same people who watched Iran get closer and closer to a nuclear weapon and called it diplomacy. So it's crazy for me that as a politician, you will get less blame for funding a problem rather than actually solving it and getting your hands dirty. What Donald Trump is doing as a statesman is a very hard thing to do. Waging a war, operating the war, and finishing the job against the national and international criticism is way harder than paying for problem at a governmental level. So it's crazy. People would rather cheer for you if you pay for problems with their own money, with their own tax money. Look at the Minnesota Somali daycare fraud. It cost the government, I think, $9 billion. That's what I heard, $9 billion USD. And this war, this Iran war, is costing the US $25 billion so far. That's the figure I got. So put things in perspective and it'll help, you know?
I know you have Iran fatigue. Look, I'm going to stake my claim here. 3 months. Okay? How about that? And right now we are on day 32. 32. This is one from the outset. I said, my mind can be changed. And you've seen it happen in real time, 11 a.m. Eastern, every weekday. You guys can tune in. So we were told, and this is the standard that we need to use here, because I even was just someone reached out from the Telegraph saying, hey, we'd like to talk about sort of the civil war on the right over Iran. I do not think that this is worth a civil war or people impeaching Donald Trump. And the standard by which we have to judge this is there was one side that was screaming World War III, nuclear fallout, and Iraq as the only comparison.
Worse than Iraq, yeah.
Worse than Iraq. It could be, let's say this ends within the 3-month span. For most conflict, you often have people who are peacekeepers there to help with transition. That's not the same as a quagmire like Iraq over the course of a decade. But Iraq, World War III, or even people compared it to World War II, saying it's going to be worse than World War II. Or it could end up being about as significant as Bosnia, Kosovo. Anyone look back on that and go, that's what destroyed America? We were never able to recover from that. And I know there are differences, and I know that it's not a direct comparison, but I think it's a more apt comparison if this wraps up in the next coming weeks than Iraq or World War III. Is that fair? Is that a fair statement? Whether you agree with it or not, the declaration that this is World War III or exactly like Iraq, if it ends within the next month or 2 months or week, would you compare it more to something like Bosnia, Kosovo, other conflicts that were not forever wars?
Yeah.
So President Trump
That's a lot more reasonable.
Spoke with reporters yesterday, and he said, and I know he kind of goes back and forth, it's part of a negotiating tactic, that we expect to be out of Iran in 2 to 3 weeks.
We knocked out, excuse me?
Pardon me for interrupting. The U.S. will be gone or done with the war in 2
I think
or 3
we're
weeks?
2 or 3 weeks.
Not
Yeah.
3 weeks. If it is
We'll
3
leave
weeks,
because
then it
there's
would
no
be
reason for us to do this. We're negotiating with them right now. They've been, again, we have had regime change. Now, regime change was not one of the things I had as a goal. I had one goal. They will have no nuclear weapon. And that goal has been attained. They will not have nuclear weapons.
Yeah, Michael. So when the war began, I was very confused and I was getting a lot of negative content on my feed. And I try to refer back to the White House source regarding this war. And Marco Rubio and Peter Hegseth have been hammering this point that basically the public justification of going into war with Iran is their nuclear weapon system. And I don't know still to this day if that's the whole truth. And I'm sure you don't know either. And you and I, we can't actually verify that. But what Steve Crowder is trying to tell us, and I can see in Donald Trump's clip here, that Trump himself is sick of the public narrative as well. He's sick of the anti-war narrative. He is ready to leave because he has achieved his objective, the public objective. That Iran's nuclear weapon system is completely destroyed. So let's say in a couple months' time, as Donald Trump says, if the US troops leave Iran, then they were being honest. They were being truthful. So there's no further reason to speculate if there was a greater conspiracy theory behind it all.
But we're finishing the job, and I think within maybe 2 weeks, maybe a couple of days longer to do the job. But we want to knock out every single thing they have. Now, it's possible that we'll make a deal before that because we'll hit bridges, and we've hit some. We'll hit some bridges. We've got a couple of nice bridges in mind. But
Beautiful bridges.
if they come to the table, that'll be good. But it doesn't matter whether they come or not. We've set them back. It'll take 15 to 20 years for them to rebuild what we've done to them. They have no Navy. They have no military.
Now, I know what some people are saying, and I understand this is a legitimate criticism or conversation. Well, maybe they weren't anywhere close to nuclear capabilities. Okay, the IAEA did not say that. Iran themselves said, and I get that they lie, so you can't take that at the word. But again, that was used to be the predicate for, and this is to enrich the military-industrial complex was one, or this is so that we can have a never-ending war, a forever war for Israel. This is doing the bidding of Israel. We're going to kill everybody. American soldiers are going to be on the ground. Your children will die for Israel. Right? So has that happened? If none of those things happen, and if it's not World War III, and if it's not even comparable to Iraq, would you say, okay, this is a disagreement, but you know what? It was done. They got out. Seems to me that we have a difference of opinion. These used to be the kinds of conversations over which we could have a disagreement. And you didn't go for impeachment or say that Kamala Harris will be the exact same.
Right.
And again, this has been always.
Yeah. So here's my theory. For now, China, Iran, and Russia are winning the information warfare. So everything that we're reading, all the memes, all the contents, even some of the influencers, I would say, even though they're speaking and writing in English, the sources are probably not from the US. So yeah, have a think about it.
Their stated goal, not just ensuring that they cannot develop a nuclear weapon, but ensuring that they don't get to the point where we wouldn't be able to stop them. Meaning, as they work on nuclear weapons, they would have the ability to protect it, create effectively a protective dome. Once they get past that point of no return, there's nothing we can do. It's just a matter of time. Rubio reiterated this, talking about how that has been the mission. And if they leave, then that would mean that they were telling the truth. Otherwise, what would be the incentive? Here he is.
Many Americans are asking, why did the United States have to attack Iran now? Well, let me explain. Iran wants to have nuclear weapons. Of that, there is zero doubt. If what they truly wanted, which is what they claim, is nuclear energy, well, they could have nuclear energy like all the other countries in the world have it, and that is you import the fuel and you build reactors above ground. That's not what Iran has done. They build their reactors and their facilities deep in mountains, away from the public glare, and they want to enrich that material. The same equipment that they could use to enrich material for energy, they could use to quickly enrich it to weapons grade. We were on the verge of an Iran that had so many missiles and so many drones that no one could do anything about their nuclear weapons program in the future. That was an intolerable risk. Under no circumstances can a country run by radical Shia clerics with an apocalyptic vision of the future ever possess nuclear weapons. This was our last best chance to eliminate that conventional threat, that conventional shield that they were trying to build, and the president made the right decision to wipe it out now. That is the goal of this operation, to destroy their conventional missiles and their drone program so they can't hide behind it and finally have to deal with the world seriously about never, ever having nuclear weapons.
And I know what people are going to say. Well, why can't they fix all the problems at home? Did you guys just see the...
I always love listening to Marco Rubio. I think he's such an articulate statesman, and he made so much sense just then. This was Trump's last and best chance at waging this war and gaining some real outcome for the US and its allies. So in the short term, it's going to hurt. It's hurting everybody now, but in the long run, in the mid to long term, it's actually going to benefit everybody in the West and the US allies. Not just the US, but everybody on the team US. So for the reasons that Steve's about to tell you.
Judge who ordered that 900,000 illegal aliens have to be reinstated to the CBP-1 app. It's very difficult to do things domestically. I know this is crazy. It's easier to bomb a terrorist regime than it is to actively get enough of a coalition to deport all illegals in this country. It shouldn't be that way.
Now you're just going to hurt the terrorist feelings.
Right, that's true. That's true, and you know what? I'm okay with it. So according to intel reports, if this is a forever war, well, about 2/3 of Iran's missiles are either destroyed, damaged, or buried, meaning they're not usable, about 2/3. About half of Iran's 60%, enriched uranium, well past the 20% sort of point of no return, still buried. That's a problem. Their air defense, 80% destroyed. Their Navy, about 92% of their large vessels destroyed. And this is where this is interesting to me. I don't think communication has been great, but I also understand there's information that I can't know as it relates to war and national security. Applejack, what the hell are you doing?
Lunch.
Yeah, what do you got in there?
Where?
In the barbecue.
Lunch.
Applejack, are you grilling?
Yeah.
Yeah, grilling what?
Oh, dude. Whoa. Applejack. You can't grill that in here. What is that, a placenta? Yeah, I found it on the discount rack. I don't care. It's a safety hazard.
No. Don't listen to Joel. You know I have no problem with a safety hazard, as everyone here you well know. But you do have a problem with your choice in meat. That is disgusting. Why don't you try our sponsor, Backyard Butchers? You get 20% off your first box, by the way, plus an extra 10% off when you subscribe. Become a Backyard Butchers member. Go to backyardbutchers.com/Crowder, and it's much better meat, and it's cheaper, more convenient.
Okay.
Now, I have to shout out to Backyard Butchers because Steve Crowder just did the most awkward ad read I've ever seen. If you're going to support anyone's sponsor, support the guy who's willing to make his entire crew uncomfortable on camera to sell you a steak. So make sure to buy your steak from Backyard Butchers.
Can I borrow your iPad?
No, I'm doing the show, Applejack. Get out.
Get out. Okay.
All right.
Please make all the noise you want.
You think he's all right?
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know that I care.
But we should have, we need a Backyard Butchers. But I've eaten all the meat that they've said.
Yeah.
We're actually going to be releasing with Backyard Butchers a box, the Crowder box. That is what I eat is what we will make available to you for a family of 4.
Yeah.
So, it's great. I will say this. It's above Costco, which is kind of my standard bear. Better than Costco meat. Probably wouldn't be like when you pay like $80 for a steak, but it's really good daily drivers, better than Costco, and that's kind of my standard.
Yep.
And from American Butchers, backyardbutchers.com/Crowder. I can't recommend them enough. Really good stuff. You saw these European allies say, we will not get involved. Even say, we actually now, our agreement to allow the United States to set up shop, we're not going to allow that to take place anymore. While it was catastrophic for those in Europe, far more than us, for the Strait of Hormuz to be closed. So with this now, Donald Trump is able to go, okay, Navy's gone, their Air Force is gone, most of their missiles are gone. They're at this point, we've castrated them effectively. You didn't want to, you guys take care of it. You guys now, You're an ally? Start upholding your end of the bargain. There's some value there. There's some real exposure, along with these conversations we've had regarding NATO. So the Strait of Hormuz, let's talk about that. President Trump specifically addressed what is going on there, and I believe we have a clip.
Problem with the Strait, a guy can take a mine, drop it in the water, and say, oh, it's unsafe. It's not like you're taking out an army or you're taking out a country, or they can drop it. Or you can take a machine gun from the shore and shoot a few bullets at a ship, or maybe an over-the-shoulder missile, small missiles. That's not for us. That'll be for France. That'll be for whoever's using the Strait. But I think when we leave, probably that's all cleared up. Today, I heard tremendous numbers of ships were sailing through.
From what we're seeing, there are more ships going through right now. We don't know exactly why or how many. He reiterated that on Truth. This is something that, if you guys know, Donald Trump has talked about how the international coalition, they've really just sort of been allowing us to bear the burden. And that can't happen anymore. He wrote, all of those countries that can't get jet fuel because the Strait of Hormuz, like the United Kingdom, which refused to get involved, in the decapitation of Iran, I have a suggestion for you. Number one, buy from the U.S. We have plenty. And number two, build up some delayed courage, go to the Strait, and just take it. You'll have to start learning how to fight for yourself. The USA won't be there to help you anymore, just like you weren't there for us. Oh, the shoes on the other foot. Iran has essentially been decimated. The hard part is done. Go get your own oil, President DJT. Also, it looks like the UK has answered the call by sending in the Royal Navy to the Strait.
Oh, man.
I don't even recognize you anymore.
Wow. No, just really quickly, so it goes into one of their other leverage points was the Strait of Hormuz. If they ever got pushed too far, a deal wasn't going the way they wanted to, they could absolutely shut off the world's oil supply through the Strait of Hormuz. This takes that out. Why do you think we went after 92% of their large boat Navy?
Right.
Why do you think we did that?
Right. Look,
It's part of the plan.
you may disagree with it.
Yes. So Trump's basically done some parenting for the European nations. He's told them, if you want the oil from the Strait of Hormuz, get it yourself and cherish it. And I think that's a fair statement. And he's drawn a strong boundary there. But this is after he's made it easier for them practically by destroying the Iranian conventional military forces and destroying the nuclear facilities. So he's made it safer, but at the same time, he's saying to them, we won't be there for you to keep your lights on anymore because you wouldn't be there when we needed you most.
I understand that, but the comparison I keep wanting to bring us back was Iraq and World War III. Gas prices went up to $4 a gallon. Terrible. Highest since 2022. Could drop back in a month. But let's compare that to Europe. It's so bad there that their governments essentially told their citizens not to travel. And they also tried to enact, this is what they said. They said voluntary demand-saving measures with particular attention to the transport sector. 40% of Europe's diesel jet fuel comes through that strait. So while it's been very inconvenient for the United States, I'm not happy about gas prices either. That's why I think we need an exit strategy. It is catastrophic for Europe.
It is catastrophic for Europe, and it seems like renewables energy isn't really working over there. You know how they sing about it?
Who refused to get involved. And I understand, well, they wouldn't have been put in a situation if the United States didn't do it. It was a matter of time, guys.
Yes.
It was a matter of time.
Yeah.
Just like
Really, no oil, no economy.
it was a matter of time until those in Europe had a problem with Russia and wanted to fund the other side of the war by supporting Ukraine while still purchasing their energy from Russia.
Did we not just learn that their missiles were capable of hitting most of Europe?
Yes.
Yeah.
Do you find it a bit odd that Steve has all these men watching him work? Or are they actual staff, or are they just sitting there just to agree with Steve from time to time? Comment down below what you think.
Yes.
You're welcome.
So let's go through what would we be looking at if the war ended today, tomorrow, this week? Okay. Here are the sort of the pros. Their missile shield, their nuclear program set back to the point where if they decide to act up again, we could just drop a few airstrikes, and set them back again. So that's a good thing. They're definitely not anywhere near as much of a threat. And I know many people believe that they're not a threat, but okay. The credibility from the United States as far as our threat to act, now they believe it. Remember, we were talking with Iran, talking. They killed many Americans on multiple occasions. And we said, we're not going to do this. And instead, what ended up happening was we unfroze billions of dollars. We actually handed them $1 billion in cash when you look at the Obama administration. And now we've said, no, you know what? We're not going to go along with you anymore. We're just going to kill a lot of you. This also places the onus on our allies who've relied on the United States. Hey, you are the guys who need this energy. Guess what? You guys need to protect it. Or you can start.
Here's another function that this war is serving, is that it's out to the allies and the nations that have been screwing the US so blatantly. And people need to see it.
Buying from us. Isn't that crazy that I just said that phrase out loud? Isn't it nuts when you think about it that these European nations are getting energy from Russia, from a strait that's controlled by Iran, instead of just, hey, displace it, recalibrate, purchase it from the United States? Not only are you not supporting us, not only are you not paying your fair share with NATO, not only are you not linking arms militarily, but you won't even support this nation financially for something that you already need and are buying anyway.
Absolutely. So everybody's panicking. The Strait of Hormuz is closed. Oh, it's all doom and gloom for the Western countries. But I think there is oil, a lot of oil in the US. So if a nation's saying they're not going to buy the US oil, but they'd rather buy Iranian or Russian oil, what does that tell you? Like, are they communist or what?
That, to me, is pretty important. Exposes allies and puts them in the hot seat. Yeah. There are definitely cons. It's unpopular politically. Definitely won't bode well for the midterms, especially when people are saying that no matter what, they will try and convince you that this was a forever war and somehow.
Yeah, so I am worried about that as well. I am worried about the midterm. But if you think about it, this is Trump's second term and the midterm's coming. So this was really the right time to do this. So, now it's happened, so he can't actually undo it. Trump can't actually undo it. So come midterm, win or lose, the deed has been done. The West is benefiting, even though it hurts short term. This is what I want everyone to realize. Donald Trump did the West a favor.
It just didn't work out. It was going to be World War III. It was Iraq. You still have people who believe that. Of course, we've had some U.S. service members killed. That's terrible. It's always a tragedy. We've had some instability as far as energy prices. That's terrible. The biggest con, I would say, is the depletion, and Lane and I were talking about this morning, of high-end offensive and defensive weapon systems. So if there's some other major conflict that takes place right now, we could be caught with our pants down, depending on the scenario. All the more reason for Europe to step up. Hey, we're going to be out of pocket for a while, Europe, so you might have to handle yourself. We're setting our email to auto-respond out of office.
Yes, so what Steve Crowder is saying, I think it's brilliant, and I think it's also factual that the United States running out of munitions for the next couple of years, this is not good news for America, but at the same time, it's really bad news. It's worse news for the European nations because of how much they're actually relying on Americans. That's what he's saying.
Defend yourself.
Yeah. So that's where we are.
Yeah.
And like I said, 3 months, give it 3 months. Is that reasonable? And do you leave room for, if 3 months from the start of this conflict, we're pretty much out, and the goals, the missions that this administration stated are mostly accomplished, and we're
I think that's reasonable. What do you think? Please leave the comment down below.
not in a forever war? Do you leave room to acknowledge that, okay, maybe not Iraq, maybe not World War III?
What I want them to acknowledge is maybe I was wrong again. Maybe Donald Trump, President of the United States, deserves a little bit of, I don't know, the benefit of the doubt.
Right.
From his.
Yes, he absolutely does. And I don't actually appreciate all the podcasters and conservative spokespeople going after him. You can't do that when war is happening, and he can't tell you everything. He can't tell us everything. It's ludicrous to expect the head of a nation to spill what he's gonna do and his strategic points, his weaknesses. He can't actually go through all that.
Past statements, from his past actions, from his track record in dealing with these crimes. Maybe he knows a little bit more than you. Maybe he's better at doing this than you are. And not everything is World War III. And by the way, we're going to hold you to what you said. Don't pivot and say, well, it's bad for us in the region now. I know you said that might happen, but you said troops on the ground. You said worse than Iraq. So just remember that.
Yeah, we'll keep those who have been bad mouthing Trump. We'll keep them accountable.
Would we?
And hold us 3 months. Hold us.
What would be a more? What do we think would be a more valid comparison? I would say, like Bosnia and Kosovo, because that's kind of something that I was obviously really young, but it was largely airstrikes, and then we had people on the ground, and there were some fights, but it was mainly rebuilding right at that point.
Peacekeeping.
Yeah, peacekeeping. I think that would be more comparable to this current Iran conflict than Iraq, if you're going to pick one. And does anyone say that was reason for impeachment and that's what destroyed the United States? The primary difference is that Iran is more of a threat globally than what we were dealing with there. But I think it's more apples to apples. And I know that people say collect $7,000 from the Jews, even though I was told that to collect $7,000 from the Jews was because we'd have American blood in the soil of Iran and it would be a forever war. So I don't really know how I'm going to get that Jew money, but, let them know to give me a call. Oh, you're still here? And you're still watching this on YouTube? You've probably noticed something is missing by now. I'm not here. That's because the live daily show is now streaming exclusively.
Here's what I keep coming back to. This war didn't just expose Iran. It exposed every alliance we thought it had. It exposed Europe. It exposed NATO. And it showed us who shows up when it actually matters and who suddenly discovers pacifism when the bill arrives. And the wildest part is that the anti-war crowd still won't tell you who benefits from American hesitation and guilt. China's watching. They're watching the stockpiles. They're watching the alliances. They're watching to see if the West finishes what it starts or folds like it always does. Drop your take in the comments. Was Crowder right? Is this Iraq or is this Bosnia? And do you trust that we're actually getting out? I am going to read every single one of the comments. Subscribe. I'll see you in the next one.